Morning. Today I have a little treat. It is an old tool. If you recognize this, you've been around. This is an antique. I'm going to call it antique. It's probably 1940s. Stanley. Let's check the numbers. Can't see the numbers very well right now. A Stanley Saw Set. Number 42. 42X. Interesting. And this is used to set the teeth on the saw, which I'll show you in a minute. But first, let's clean it up and take a look at its design. It's a fascinating design. I like it more than the modern one that I have here and been using all along. So I might just be using the 70, 80-year-old saw set over my brand new one from now on. So let's dive in, take it apart, clean it up, and see what she looks like. There we go. There's the pin. Nice little looking pin. Now this is spring, I know. Spring loaded. And here comes out the spring. There we go. There should be another spring inside there. We'll take a look at that in a second. I'll loosen this cap. There we go. Ooh, that one's stiff. Let's take it out. And there we go. Let's take a look. So I'll probably fast forward this, but I'm going to clean it up here now. I'm going to start with a very fine bristled brass brush, just to try to get some of this dirt and grime off there. Get to see some of the lettering, if there are any, made in the US. Just showed up there. Let's see if we can focus on that. Get my bench top dirty. Let's clean up that model number. Number 42X. Okay, after a reasonably short amount of time, we have all the pieces cleaned up. Not too much. It has some of the original oil still in place, so didn't clean it up too much. So let's reassemble it. This is pretty fascinating. Here's the code, the model number, number 42X, made in the US, Stanley. So if you want to look that up, it's kind of neat. Now here's the parts. Let's describe what's going on here. Well, the piece in there is called the hammer. Right there. Let's bring that close. Can she focus? Right there, that little piece of metal sticking out is what's called the hammer, and that bends the tooth of the saw over. This piece that it pushes against is called the anvil, and this piece, I forget the name of it. I'll try to put it on the screen somewhere here, but that pushes the saw plate against the anvil. So let's just reassemble. I love these old tools. They didn't skimp on anything. The construction is actually heavier built, much heavier built than today. And it's not like metal was cheaper back then. Steel is not a cheap thing. And it's cheaper today than it was back then. So it's not like they were just had more resources. They just built things better. Let's push that in place first. Okay. Don't need to be very tight. Just Don't seem to be treading very much. Yeah, it might not be original, you know? Now I'm wondering if that's original. But okay. I should look one up online and see. This is kind of neat, the anvil here. It has adjustment delineations there. It's focused on that. I guess once you get to know your tool, you'll know what that means. So that just goes in this little slot here. There's a little slot there at the bottom. And this just slides in place. And this has to be there first. So it can ride in the slot. Ingenious design. Won't find stuff like that made today. And this treads into the anvil to keep it tight against the body of the adjuster. As you can see, as you screw this in and out, you're adjusting how much set it will put in your saw teeth. Lots of set and minimal amount of set. Just the heft of it is surprising. Always surprises me. So let's get a closer up view of what's going on. So as I squeeze the handle, how about I increase the set so it exaggerates what we normally do with this. We'll pull out the... Okay, so as I squeeze the handle, it comes out of the body of the saw set, up against the anvil, and then the hammer comes out and squeezes the tooth over. As you can see it moving right like that. Now here's the new one, Somax. I'm very pleased with this one. Although that one there, I do prefer the adjustment on that one. This one here, you turn, let's get a bigger view of it for a second. This one here has like a very fine adjustment, moving this lever back and forth. Here, on the other hand, you have this dial that turns this wheel, and the wheel is beveled from a high amount of set all the way around to a low amount of set. And I have it set around 8 right now. And the wheel is your anvil. So let's take a look at that real close. And it comes against the anvil, whatever that's called. And then the hammer pushes out and pushes the tooth over, like so. Works very well. This is a little bit finicky to keep in on the right number. I don't like that part about this. And obviously not as heavy built. It is heavy, but not as heavy built as the old ones. I'm very impressed with the old design. I'm not sure. They had lathes back then, obviously, so I'm surprised they didn't come up with this idea. Maybe it was patented or something. But this is fascinating. One thing I did notice is if you look real close right here, the teeth run through here as they're getting set. And you can see scratch marks in the body of the saw set where the teeth were riding as they were being set. That's pretty telling. That tells you that the teeth have the potential of getting blunted while you set them. I noticed the same thing with my modern one right here. You can see where the saw teeth were running on the body of the saw set. So that tells me that I think your order of operations should be that you set the teeth, then sharpen your teeth, so you don't lose the crispness of the edge that you're putting on your saw. So next thing, we'll just take a look at how each of them works in action. Modern, so we place it over the tooth that we want to set. I'm going to actually, then we squeeze the handle and the hammer pushes the tooth over. Just like that. Hear my knuckles crack. Just like so. And you can see how this sets down on the teeth each time. So that's, I noticed that with before I got the old one, but the old one kind of confirmed how much use it really gets. Those are pretty deep scratches there. Okay, now it's time to look at how the old one performs. So we put the anvil in place, and we squeeze the handle, and the hammer comes out and pushes the tooth over. Let's put a little bit more set on. So like you've seen before, I'm just going to move the anvil down with the 2 screws, tighten it up. So we have a little more set. Let's just watch it. Push the tooth over. Anyway, that's oh, I still got my saw here. It hurts. Saw, sharp saw. So that concludes this little look at a old saw set. These really don't wear out. I don't know how you would wear one of these out. They're built so heavy, and there's no wearing parts. There's nothing to sharpen. I think the biggest problem is the hammer. The hammer is high carbon hardened steel, so it's hard enough to push that tooth over. Sometimes they chip. So one thing I did on this one when I got it, because it's brand new, I don't mind doing many alterations. So I took the hammer out and I beveled its edges ever so slightly on a 1000 grit sharpening stone, and those little bevels on the edges help reduce the risk of chipping. But really, that's the only thing that makes these go out of date. Other than something catastrophic, there's nothing to wear out here. So this saw set is as good or better, despite being 70 years old, than the modern, which is cool. I think that's cool. Anyway, I love this cell design. It's fascinating. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these 2 saw sets, old versus new, seeing how they work. It's fascinating, the difference in the adjustment mechanism, but essentially they do the same thing and they do them equally as well. I prefer this adjustment because it's less finicky. It's just 2 screws, you move them a little bit, they're done. This one here, it has a spring in there, which is difficult to adjust sometimes. It gets on my nerves. So once I get it set for 8 teeth per inch, I leave it until I get all my 8 teeth per inch saws set, because it's just a little bit finicky. I don't like that. Anyway, see you next time.